Rashawn Cripbloodson was a New Shits York native, born and bred with the dirty Tim's shoes on and a loud, nasty accent to match. But unfortunately for him, this story doesn't end with a big red, wet apple. It ends with a moldy one, filled with worms that are wiggling and eating the core of the apple. Rashawn woke up at 2:35 p.m. in his rat-infested tiki hat, $2,000 a month zoo apartment. And he woke up to the sound of his phone going off. It was his baby mama, Sharifa Keisha, calling him to take care of his damn kids and pay his judge-ordered child support. But as every other typical morning, he clicked that little red dot at the bottom of the phone and he went right on with his day. As Rashawn rolled out of bed, he rubbed his hands together like Birdman, and he thought about making that bread today, making that money. And Rashawn bounced out of his bed, and his cock wiggled and dangled in his Fruit of the Loom underwear. And he went to the mirror of his 1x1 square foot bathroom. And Rashawn looked at his face in the mirror, and he took off his do-rag, and his hair exploded out. And it looked sort of like a used clown wig. And that's when Rashawn said, hell no, we gotta fix this shit up, son. We need to get this shit right. And that's when this New York native's future went dark. And his fate and trajectory of life changed forever. Rashawn went out his apartment and into the dirty, crime-riddled, gun violence-riddled streets of New York. And he went underground to the dirty subway. As he headed downstairs to the God-forbidding, God-forsaken, godless subway, he jumped through the gates so he can get that free train ride, as he should. And he saw a group of 8 big human-sized rats with suits on singing the blues. Bum boom boom bum boom boom bum shoo-wop boom wah. Have yourself a merry little Christmas. Let your heart be light. Next year all your troubles will be out of sight. And have yourself a merry little Christmas. Now, yeah. Good job, boys. Let's go to Act 2. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas. And Rashawn looked at that shit and he just walked on and entered the train because that shit's scary. That shit mad scary, son. As Rashawn entered this train, he sat down on the dirty, cold seat of the train. And he looked to the left of him, and in the corner, there was a homeless woman, spread eagle, finger in her rotten, fish riddled, pum pum. And as he looked to the right, he saw arguments happen between a gang, and they were stabbing each other. And everybody else in this train were just sitting down, ignoring all of it. And a smell of stinky, moldy food, of people that ate and left their food on the train, filled the air of the train. And it was stink. And that's when Rashawn had a moment of realization that this place is not the greatest city in the world. Kind of like the famous Casey Neistat always says. It's actually the greatest city in the universe. New York. Dada, son. And that's when the train arrived to Rashawn's destination. Rashawn pulled up to the barber, and they fixed his shit up with some fresh ass twists, and he shaked and bounced those twists as he walked back to the train to go home. And those twists start to jump and jolt like Shirley Temple twists. Stiff where? Stiff what? And as that was happening, that's when something dark happened. Something random. Something evil. Something extraterrestrial happened. Something malevolent happened. At the top of the buildings, there was a lot of birds covered in feces. They were the New York pigeons, and they sure were hungry. So hungry that they mistook Rashawn's hair for worms, and they launched down to go eat those worms that they thought was on Rashawn's head. And they pulled and yanked at the boy's scalp, and Rashawn screamed, "Ah! Get off of me, son! Ah! 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 What the fuck wrong with these birds?" And the birds didn't stop. They yanked at Rashawn's scalp, and he pulled out a Glock and shot it into the air, and the birds didn't give a fuck. In fact, one of the pigeons pulled out a knife and they cut off his fingers, and blood squirted all over the face of the pigeon. And Rashawn screamed in agonizing pain. "Ah, shit, son! Ah! Somebody help! What is this big ass crowd around here not even doing anything? Y'all just walking past, son? That ass, really?" And the pigeons multiplied in size. And then there were hundreds, then there were thousands, then there were millions, and all the birds in the whole entire stinky state were pulling and yanking at his scalp, and all of the twists were releasing from his scalp, and red juices squirted into the air. And that smell of blood made ravens and buzzards come to the site, and those buzzards and ravens started pecking as well. And all the New York Zoo parrots started smelling the blood too, and they flew over too. And then parakeets flew, hummingbirds flew. I don't know any other birds. And even the greatest bird of all time flew over there. The American eagle. And as the American eagle arrived, all the other birds looked at that glorious bird in silence. And that bird flapped its wings iridescently, majestically. And that bird took its beak and stabbed it into Rashawn's head fronts and peeled back Rashawn's scalp, exposing his brain. And Rashawn yelped like a Yelp review. Ah! And all of Rashawn's juices sprayed out like a New York City fire hydrant. And all the birds danced in Rashawn's blood as Rashawn fell to the ground and convulsed and foamed at the mouth. And the birds pecked and ate and feasted on the boy until the boy's skull was empty and all the blood dripped off the beaks of the bird as the bird smiled so gaily. And they started to dance in the boy's guts and hair. And then they started to millywhop. And then they started to get sturdy as Rashawn sat there as a lifeless corpse. And every New Yorker ignored the whole thing. And those murderous birds flew away into the darkness, leaving Rashawn there, dead. And that's when the New York City band, the 8 Rats, came from the train station. And they sang the outro to this video. Start spreading the news, I'm leaving today. We're gonna be a part of it. New York, New York. I wanna wake up in that malevolent city that never sleeps and find I'm king of the hill, top of the heap. Something, 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 something. It's up to you. New York, New York.